Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna, the ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. So we continue the Dhyana Yoga 6th Adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Today we are going to read the 21st Shloka of the Dhyana Yoga. Sri Krishna telling us about how a yogi advances, progresses on this path of Dhyana, on this path of meditation, which he has already told us how to sit for meditation, what to do after having sat for the meditation on that asana. Think about me and focus your mind on only on me. And when that state of meditation comes to the yogi, that one-pointedness of the mind, he starts getting several experiences. And one of such experience of the advancement in the practice of meditation is, as he continues practicing meditation, what that person achieves. He gets quietude of the mind. That is what Sri Krishna told us in the 20th Shloka. Getting quietude of the mind and realizing the higher self by the lower self. Yatra uparamate chittam, when the mind has become steady, when the mind has become quiet. Niruddham yoga sevaya, by practicing this yoga, by practicing this the meditation, practice of yoga, that state is attained where the yogi gets calmness of the mind, quietude of the mind. Yatra cha eva atmanatmanam, and even the lower self, having focused all its attention, all its concentration, all its the focus on the Supreme Self, on the Atmanam, Paramatman, what happens? Pashyannatmanni tushyati. He, beholding that higher self, beholding that Supreme Self, the lower self attains great bliss. He is just wonderstruck and remains satisfied looking at the higher self. He just remains satisfied, beholding the higher self, beholding the Supreme Self. So that is one aspect of meditation. Next, sukham ātyantikaṁ yattad buddhi-grāhyam atīndriyam vetti yatra na chaivāyaṁ sthitaśh chalati tattvataḥ. Sri Krishna says in this 21st Shloka, sukham ātyantikaṁ. Ātyantikaṁ is infinite. Sukham, bliss. There is infinite bliss. There is infinite happiness. There is infinite joy, inexpressible. One cannot express that joy. That bliss, that joy, that happiness one receives after beholding the Supreme Self, that cannot be expressed. That is only to be experienced. So, sukham ātyantikaṁ yatra. Yatra is that which the infinite bliss, buddhi-grāhyam atīndriyam. That supreme bliss can be only understood by the intelligence, by the buddhi, because it is atīndriya, it is beyond the comprehension of any of these senses. We cannot, we are perceiving this world with the senses, right? We can see, we can hear, we can touch, we can smell and all those things. But this bliss is beyond the comprehension of the senses. It can only be experienced by the buddhi, by the intelligence, by the intellect, which is connected with ourself. Senses are not connected with the self. Senses are connected only with the body. And the intelligence, the intellect, the buddhi is connected with the self. So Sri Krishna says, this sukham ātyantikaṁ, this extreme bliss can only be perceived, can only be realized by the buddhi. It can be grasped only by the buddhi. It is beyond senses. It is atīndriyam. It transcends the senses, the gamut, the capability of the senses. Senses can't grasp that bliss. Senses can only help us in having pleasure and pain, only these opposite dualities. But the ultimate peace, the ultimate bliss, only intelligence can experience. Vetti yatra na chaivāyaṁ. Vetti is having known. Yatra, where. Na cha eva ayam, having known that even this thing. Now what is this thing having known? Sthitaśh chalati tattvataḥ. Sthitaḥ gets established. Chalati moves. Tattvataḥ from the reality. So the yogi, when he feels that the supreme bliss, which is perceived only by the intelligence, which is beyond the grasp of senses, he is established, and wherein once having got established, he never moves away from the reality. So once having tested that bliss, having tested that ultimate experience of oneness with the Paramatman, having experienced the lower self, having experienced oneness with the Supreme Self, that bliss, which can only be experienced by the buddhi, not by the senses. Senses cannot go to that level at all. Senses can only go up to the materialistic level, only up to the physical level. What is beyond senses, it doesn't come under the jurisdiction of the senses at all. That bliss, that ultimate peace, Paramashanti, that Anandam. Because that Anandam is a part of Satchidanandam. The senses, they don't reach there. Sat, Chit and Anandam is beyond the comprehension of senses. They are atīndriyam. And therefore, Sri Krishna says, this is what the yogi finds as he gets advanced in the state of meditation. When he feels that the supreme bliss, which is perceived by the intelligence and which transcends the senses, and wherein established, he never moves from the reality. He has seen what is the ultimate reality. He has understood what is the ultimate reality. He doesn't like to move away from that. He doesn't want to come back into this world of dualities. One without second. That is where the self then remains happy. Bliss is the characteristic of the Atman. Therefore, the extroverted senses cannot have access to it. Senses can only perceive what is outside. Senses cannot perceive what is inside. I cannot see what lies in my heart. I cannot hear what lies in my inner heart. It is not that just that putting a stethoscope and listening to that dip 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 noise of the heartbeats. No, that is not what the yoga implies. The senses cannot reach the inner core of the beings. Senses cannot see what lies, senses cannot hear what lies, senses cannot smell what lies, senses cannot touch what lies. Nothing. These senses, the five senses that we have got, they can only perceive what lies outside this body. There they cannot go. And it is only the self which has the liberty, which has all the glory to understand what lies here, to perceive what lies here. It is only the intellect which knows what lies here. Senses can never know. Bliss is ever purified intellect grasps it to some extent. Purified intellect. That again, Sri Krishna says it is a purified intellect, not the blemished intellect. Because intellect also plays, two roles in our lives. The purified intellect which takes us upwards, which takes us inward in fact. So that intellect realizes what lies inside. Bliss is everlasting because of its belonging to the Atman. Bliss can only remain with the Atman. Bliss cannot remain with the body. Whenever the body is there, it is always engrossed in the pairs of opposites. It can only perceive the pairs of opposites, the happiness, unhappiness, pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow. These are only the things to be realized by the body. But the bliss, undivided, unending, the infinite, that is only the quality of the Atman. The yogi does not want to divert himself from this bliss to the impermanent pleasures of the senses. These pleasures of the senses, they are so impermanent, they come and go. And not only that, they are not the pleasures alone. They are always accompanied with pain. The pleasures are always accompanied with pain. The joy is always accompanied with sorrow. The happiness is always accompanied with unhappiness. When it comes to the perception through senses. But when it is intellect, the purified intellect, it is only absolute bliss. And when the yogi reaches that stage, the yogi doesn't want to go back to that stage of seeking the pleasures and pains through the senses. The yogi always then likes to remain absorbed in the activity of that intelligence of enjoying, of experiencing, of realizing that bliss, of being one with the Paramatman. The yogi does not want to divert himself from this bliss to the impermanent pleasures of the senses any more that the fish wants to get to land, abandoning its watery abode. The simile, the example that Swami Chidbhavananda has given here is, once if we take the fish out of water and put it on the ground, how that fish is just making all the effort to get back to that water. And having got back to the water, would it ever want to come back on that ground? No. Then the fish only wants to enjoy that happiness, that bliss, the undisturbed bliss remaining in water. So that is the example that Swami Chidbhavananda ji has given. And on this particular shloka of the limitation of the senses while getting to know the Paramatman, what Sri Ramakrishna has to say about it. When in Samadhi, the yogi dives deep into the ocean of Satchidananda. When a yogi attains the state of Samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna is saying, he gets into that deep ocean of Satchidananda. He dives deep into that ocean of Satchidananda, which is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. There are no dualities in it. There are no pairs of opposites in it. It is the existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, and that is where the yogi just dives deep when he gets into that state of Samadhi. In that state, his senses become defunct. When he reaches that stage of Samadhi, there is no utility of senses. There is no need of senses because senses cannot take us there. None of our senses. The senses are only the instruments of striving some kind of enjoyment from the sense objects, which are external. And whenever we try to seek enjoyment, whenever we try to seek pleasure from the sense objects, through the senses, all those are impermanent. They come and go, and they also bring along with that the camouflaged, the second part. The pleasure brings with it the pain, the joy brings with it the sorrow, and these kind of dualities, they keep on happening in our lives when we keep on seeking pleasures through senses. But in Samadhi, senses have no role over there. It is only the intellect, it is only the purified intellect which takes us beyond all these kind of experiences, and we become one with the experience of only Satchidanandam. That is the everlasting bliss. So Sri Ramakrishna has explained the 21st verse in his one short sentence. So that was our reading of the 21st shloka, and then Sri Krishna will keep on telling us more advancements on this path of meditation, on this path of dhyana as we progress forward. So that was our reading for the day. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.